So we bought a Christmas tree yesterday. Cut it down. I didn't cut it down. Some man with a chainsaw came over and cut it down for my family. I was actually trying to find a person, and this guy just kind of came up to him and said, "Hey, can I cut that down for you?" And they did. So that's the tree story. Here we are, 716 Sports Podcast, Monday night, watching a little Eli Manning. He's back, fam. Carson Wentz could learn a thing or two from this winner, this legend.
So
2 Super Bowls.
It is mathematically possible for every team in the NFC East to finish 6-10 in a 4-way tie.
God, that would be so beautiful. If it was, we need to get there because the Giants are 2-10 right now. It was
until the Redskins lost yesterday. Now it can only end in a 3-way tie.
HTTR. It's a bummer. How was everybody's Sunday? I hope everybody got to spend some time with family, with friends.
It was good. It was a fun Bills game to watch.
Run along.
We got some wings from Dwyer's. Enjoyed them.
Okay.
During the Bills game.
Okay, and we'll send the bill later for that. But where's Dwyer's?
Doesn't matter. They're not sponsoring.
Okay. This is not the
they're good wings.
Analytics Wingcast.
But we want to enjoy some good wings.
Sure.
Well, that looks bad.
And that's why I go to Buffalo Wild Wings over on Niagara Falls Boulevard in Tonawanda.
Pat was not a fan of the wings at Dwyer's at all.
He wasn't?
He was very, very negative about the wings. But I enjoy them.
Okay. Now, those were your suggestion, weren't they?
To Pat, yes.
Yeah.
Told him he wasn't a fan.
What's the most important feature on a wing for you? Or a drum? Listen, we are not here to debate that.
This is not the drums versus flats podcast.
No.
Okay.
That's not, because we've done that online for years and years. The one chart there, that was weird. Where do you just take one bite of the chicken wing and then leave it?
Who does that?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay, if somebody does that, I want to go up to them, smack them upside the head and say, "Why are you like this?"
Throwback Monday. Here we go with Mike's Food Takes. Eat your damn chicken wings.
Damn straight.
There you go.
Most important feature's got to be crispiness.
Soggy wings aren't good.
Nope.
No, that's a good point.
It doesn't matter how good the sauce is if the wing is
we always order them. We always order them extra crispy from most places. Usually we get them from pizza places, not necessarily known for their wings specifically or whatever. But my uncle came into town on Saturday from Salt Lake City, and he was staying in East Aurora, and I think it was Barback that I told him to, or no, Barbill to go to. He seemed to have a good time there. So
that is definitely one of the places very high on the Moranalytics.
Yes.
Podcast.
Yeah. And now you own the show, is that correct? What's your role on that show again?
I've been known to pop by. Actually, when this releases Tuesday morning, I am on this week's Moranalytics podcast.
How about
Pat,
that?
so
synergy.
You can go over there and listen to me and Pat talk, and he has Damone Harris, of former Bishop Timon St. Jude, football player who was part of Kansas City beating the Patriots on Sunday, so that's pretty neat.
So we'll send that bill over to Pat.
Yeah, we'll get that over to him. Of course, you as the owner, Jeff, I expect my check coming any minute now. Yep. Pretty cool that you let him put the name on it, even though you run it.
I'm a selfless guy, Bill.
Yeah, that's always Buffalo wins.
Well, so welcome back to the Bill Kenny Sports Podcast.
Well, I didn't watch the game yesterday, so if that's not been obvious, I don't know. Look, we're willing to go behind the curtain here, okay? I didn't watch the game. I had to go cut down a tree. We got kids. We need to have Christmas, right?
You got to.
That's what Saturday is for.
Well, Saturday was hockey oriented. You like hockey, right?
Hockey's cool.
Saturday was the Ohio State.
There was also the Ohio State Big Ten Championship. 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
7 Central.
You got a pregame for 7, 8
6
hours.
Mountain, 5 Pacific. And despite their best efforts to try and kill me, they didn't. They won. So
I was very
nice.
unhappy about Ohio State winning.
I know. You have a weird vendetta against Ohio State that I haven't been able to figure out because you're not a Michigan guy. You're not a Michigan man.
Nope.
A Michigan man is classy and leads by example and gets blown out. By the way, Michigan, Alabama, Citrus Bowl, bitch. Enjoy that. Very
That
excited.
sounds painful.
You ever want to do a college bowl preview show, Justin? Gotcha. Are you ready for the Air Force versus Washington State Cheez-It Bowl? It's going to be insane.
Matchup I've been waiting for years.
Triple option versus the purest form of the air raid. Oh, my God. I can't wait. It's going to be so good. Anyway.
Someone get Paul Johnson back out to talk about that game.
I love Paul Johnson.
I just saw
Paul Johnson.
I saw a stat today when I was on
It's not
Twitter
dead.
saying that UB is one of like 6 teams that played like 9 bowl eligible teams this year.
Well, just everybody in the MAC goes 6-6 or 7-5. So there's a bunch of teams. So yeah, they played
Penn State.
They played Penn State. They played Temple.
It was a bunch
this
of
year.
big schools and then UB.
And no, they did the Florida Atlantic thing last year. But no, college football is actually the funnest sport because everybody has a little quirk, and it's highly enjoyable. But yeah, so the Bills, I've been told, played a rather important game. But the funny thing is that ultimately everything else went their way, and they actually walk out with better odds to clinch a playoff spot despite losing.
Yeah, I mean, even the Patriots losing to Kansas City went in their direction, which is usually the way that you would have thought that one would not go.
Who would have thought that Titans would be the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the AFC? Maybe the second hottest team behind Baltimore.
See, now that becomes particularly interesting for where the Bills are right now because the AFC South winner is, I would say, most likely to get the 4th seed because Kansas City's figured it out a little bit. Baltimore's very good. The Patriots are still doing pretty good. Now Tennessee finds themselves in the position where they played the Texans twice in the last 3 weeks.
Houston, baby, what is you doing?
They have Houston, New Orleans, and Houston, right? That's a tough 3 weeks. But
That's not a schedule I'd want to end the season with.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a chance to play a team twice now to win your own division, and they
That's
are,
true.
as Bill mentioned, they're playing as good football as
Ryan
almost
Tannehill
anyone.
going to get paid. Going to get paid a lot of money. Going to get that Kirk Cousins.
It turns
deal.
out that Miami might have been the problem.
Adam Gase may have been a problem.
Adam Gase also.
Shocker.
Can't wait to see what he does to Sam Darnold over the next couple of years.
Just slowly murders him.
Quarterback whisperer.
Yep.
I'm surprised he makes it past this year, the way he's run that team.
They already said he's coming back in 2020. So
Allegedly.
Well,
very cool.
They have to fire Freddie Kitchens in Cleveland before they fire Adam Gase because he's doing less with more.
Great year for the one and dones. Meanwhile, Brian Flores is actively going against the wishes of his front office. Just sheer grit and will going to 3-10.
He tried to win a football game on 7 field goals yesterday, and damn, didn't he come close.
We should everybody should set a goal and try and get there. And that's what
It was
Brian
achievable.
Flores
It was
tried.
right in front of him, but they unfortunately allowed a late field goal.
That is actually one
12 field goal game between the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yep, classic.
So the good news is for the Bills, no matter what happens the rest of the way, no matter what happens, and the game we'll get to coming up here this week on Sunday night, no matter what happens against the Patriots, all you have to do is beat the Jets, and no matter what, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
So it's very
Put
much in
yourself
front of
in a
them to win
wonderful
one of their last
position.
3 games. You're in control. You're not in control for the division like you would have been if you had won the game, because then you play New England still.
Right.
Control your own destiny, but still find yourself very much in control of a playoff spot. It was an important game. Baltimore is a really good team. They've won 9 in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
They beat a team in San Francisco last week who went out and then somehow stampeded the Saints defense into oblivion in what might have been the most fun NFL game so far. This year's versions of Chiefs Rams, where every time you check on red zone, someone else is going right down the field to score another touchdown.
But nobody made any
points.
mistakes, right? No turnovers, I believe, in
Very
that game.
limited
Or maybe
turnovers.
there was one.
There was
yeah.
an interception.
Pretty incredible. Yeah, look, Baltimore's the betting favorite right now for Super Bowl. And who's going to tell you no on that? I mean, they're beating everybody. That matters.
Bills are lucky they're in the AFC, though, because if you're in the NFC,
Oh, my God.
winning 10 games doesn't guarantee you shit.
Nope. Bloodbath. The
You have
Rams.
Seattle and Minnesota. You might have a 10-win Rams team or a 10-win Bears team miss the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty incredible. I do remember the last time I remember like such a good team missing was actually the Matt Castle led Patriots went 11-5, lost a tiebreaker to the Wildcat Dolphins, and didn't make the playoffs that year based off the wild cards. Pretty incredible.
With as good as the Ravens are, the Bills really held their own yesterday.
Defensively, sure.
It was a dogfight. I mean, the offense didn't look great. I mean, it was kind of a tale of 2 halves, because the first half, it was Josh Allen kind of missing a lot of deep balls. It wasn't close on a few of them. The second half, there's a lot of drops by receivers. He wasn't getting a lot of help. He had a beautiful deep ball down the left sideline to Beasley. Couldn't catch it. John Brown, a couple drops. Knox has been great this year, but I've alluded, he's had a lot of big drops this year, especially mostly on third down earlier in the season. But Knox had a few drops, and the one nice ball they caught, he barely caught it. Allen just kind of dropped it in there and it stuck in his arm.
Yeah, it's stuck in his one arm. Holy shit, I caught it.
I don't think he even moved his arm and just kind of dropped there and stuck. It was a really nice throw.
It's like all he had to do was flex and it was there.
I mean, the run game was good. Singletary played a great game. It just, the Ravens, we talked about it before the show a little bit. The Ravens kind of just played strictly man coverage, lots of cover zero, and blitz put in two guys every play, and just forced Josh Allen to make a throw under pressure. And they dared him, they bet him, and they bet that he couldn't do it, and they went wrong. He was missing. They had the opportunities, they had the throws, they were there. Guys were open. Josh Allen was just missing him because he just struggles with that part of his game. At this point, just got to be in his head.
Yeah, so here's some numbers for you, courtesy of ESPN's Marcel Louis-Jacques. Josh Allen yesterday was 1 of 16 when under duress, under pressure. He was blitzed 30 times and was 7 of 24 in his passes when being blitzed. Additionally, he went 0 of 11 from outside the pocket. So areas where, being mobile, avoiding sacks, he was sacked 6 times, getting out of the pocket, just nothing really seemed to work for him. And then they're blitzing all these people. They're leaving everyone open deep. He was also only 1 of 11 on throws over 15 yards. And I believe that one was the Knox catch that he kind of trapped under his arm. Everything else downfield was either overthrown, off the hands of someone. Certainly there were drops. The receivers were not helping him.
The missed pass interference.
The Ravens blitzed 30 times. Josh Allen passed the ball 39 times.
Yeah, no, they knew.
Him.
They knew what was going on. And it's funny, like you say, the struggles outside the pocket. We saw the improvisation skills were in full force against Dallas, and he did really well working, even when whether he was staying in the pocket or moving outside, he was extending the plays. Yesterday, they were unsuccessful, and it kind of we've wondered what would have happened if Josh Allen had stayed healthy in that New England game. I think you kind of ended up seeing what would have happened. It probably wasn't going to get better because switches don't automatically get turned on in the fourth quarter, like we sometimes have seen so far.
Yeah, and if you're able to do that, you're not just you're one of the all-time greats. I mean, that's a Brady or Rodgers kind of ability to forget 3 bad quarters and just go out there and win the game anyway.
Yeah, let's just go be legends, man.
But it was definitely a rough game for Josh. I think he came up. His game against Dallas was his best game as a pro. I think we all agreed on that when we did the show last week. This game wasn't his worst, but it was a regression from what he did against the Cowboys. Now, part of that is Baltimore is a significantly better, at this point, football team. They have a player in Matthew Judon, who, Justin, before we came on the air, I would agree with as well, said he basically won them the game at points. He was killing Allen off the end. He forced the fumble that led to the second Baltimore touchdown. Just tons of pressure. They have a guy in Earl Thomas who is a modern-day legend at safety. Marcus Peters, we can discuss the pass interference, call or non-call, makes a great play in the end zone on the 4th down play, getting around John Brown to get his hand in clean as a whistle.
Yeah, the last Bills offensive play of the game. Yep.
Last one, yeah. And you have to be able to contend with this offense because Baltimore, holding Baltimore to 24 points feels great because this is an offense that is so dynamic and so capable of doing basically whatever they want. They hit you from every direction.
And let's not forget that, what was it, 3 possessions, 3 scoring drives of Baltimore's were short field drives? Mm-hmm. It's not like they were
the Hayden
all...
Hurst touchdown, that was the big one.
Right. It was not like that they were letting them go up and down the field all day. It was just a lot of bad, the fumble. And Bajorquez kicked worse than I kicked when I was in high school, and I wasn't even a punter.
Amazing that he's still, after a preseason where everyone said he should get cut, he got to keep his job. And
but he hasn't been a problem most weeks.
He's not.
He's been fine. He's been an average punter in the NFL. I don't know. It seems like I would say it's a little revisionist history. I think he's been fine this year. There's been a couple games where he struggled, but basically every guy is, every punter has some struggles. He's not going to be an all-pro like we used to get with, Brian Moorman or whatever. So it's fine. The punting really doesn't seem to be the issue. I'm curious because you're talking about all the different times that they were bringing pressure. What was the Ravens' run defense looking like? Because it seemed like Singletary had a pretty decent day, all things considered. He was, roughly in the neighborhood of 4 a carry. So I'm just curious what we were saying.
But he did have a 36 yard carry.
So you take that out, and then everything falls quite a bit.
I felt like he was having a couple of pretty good drives again.
Yeah, it feels like even if he wasn't getting that great of yardage for the most part, he wasn't bad. He was I would say solid.
I mean, there was one second half drive where basically the game plan was give the ball to Singletary, and he basically took him right down the field by himself to set up a field goal attempt, if I remember correctly.
It's a smart way to break pressure if they're bringing so much. Yeah. Try and run past them when they're running by you.
Yeah, but then the next drive they bring Frank Gore right back out. They run him off tackle on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, so you can't.
So they've got to learn situationally who to use and when, because just running Singletary for a drive and then spelling him for Gore, but then using Gore like you're using Singletary, doesn't help either of them.
No.
It makes Gore look old. It makes you look bad. When really you could just bring Gore in on 3rd and 1, run him at the middle. I mean, that's the old bowling ball Mike Tolbert mentality from this coaching staff for the last 2 years. They're getting a little too cute with it.
The Gore experiment, I think, is about to run its course. Things are not progressing in a positive manner with him, and that was to be expected. I mean, he's old, right? And he's just starting to break down a little bit. And 36 this year, right?
He's 36. I'm 37.
Yep.
I'm about to turn 38, and I think he's about to turn 37. So yeah,
things just kind of eventually fall apart, and that's okay because he shouldn't even. We talk about a 30-year-old Cliff, and this guy is way past that. And they were relying on him so much at the beginning of the season. I think he's just kind of breaking down.
He's fallen down the other side of a second cliff.
Yep.
It's the first drop off at 30. Then he had a smaller drop off at 35. Now he's in the old 38-year-old drop off, which is a drop off many of the NFL players do not even get to see.
Right. Exactly. It's pretty incredible how consistent he's been, but it's fallen down now.
I'm 32, and that takes me some time to get off my couch.
Let alone get it driven into the ground by 280-pound defensive lineman.
For 20 years.
Give or take, yeah. So, offense, not great. Blocking wasn't great. Defense was great.
Defense shut that is one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. 257 yards. Lamar Jackson had 40 yards rushing. That team is about to shatter the team rushing record for a season, and they held them to what is it? They lost it. Where's the stat? 118 yards. Yeah, so as a team.
Baltimore averaged 4.4 yards per play yesterday. On the season, they averaged 6.1. So almost 2 full yards per play below their season average, which, when you're running a bunch of plays, that's about 100 yards and change of difference of what you're able to do. And 61 of those yards came on an uncharacteristic kind of botched play from the safeties or whoever was in the secondary, letting Hayden Hurst get behind Hyde and Poyer. Now, we don't know at this point who missed who, but how many times this year can you even say the secondary made a mistake like that? It's an unfortunate time for it. You take that 61-yard play out of it, which you can't, but everything else was really, Baltimore wasn't hitting big plays.
And that play was a difference maker. That's the one touchdown they lose by, and it was a clear miscommunication by the two safeties, and like you said, uncharacteristic.
And, I mean, for a secondary, I really can't think of any other time this year where you look at the secondary and be like, man, they really blew that coverage. I feel like you watch other NFL teams and like 2 or 3 times a game, some of these teams are like, oh, he missed that guy. Watch the Eagles play the Giants right now, and there's guys running wide open for Eli again. This secondary, it sucks that it happened when it did, but still, I think they played a very good game. They've been the best in the NFL, in my opinion, this season in terms of a complete unit. And you held Lamar Jackson there wasn't a play on there other than his little jab step on Milano, who wishes he could delete his Twitter for a couple days.
That was a pretty good gif.
That was a beautiful piece of footwork by Lamar. But other than that,
white sleeves, they call him.
Old white sleeves. Easy to tell the football from his arm, Jackson. Noted wide receiver.
Good stuff.
I think Trey Way might have had his best NFL career game yesterday as well.
He had his best NFL career moment picking Baltimore playbook off the field.
That's a Tremaine Edmonds.
Tremaine Edmonds had a great game.
That's right. That's what I meant to say. Tremaine Edmonds probably his best NFL career game.
And Shaq Lawson
even minus
too,
the
maybe.
pick. Yeah, Shaq Lawson played great. He was everywhere.
They're going to have to re-sign him.
They're going to have to.
They got the space. They need to do it.
They just grabbed his 5th-year option, right? They picked that up.
I don't think they have yet. No.
Pick it up.
They declined it.
They declined it?
Yeah.
I thought they picked it up.
That was a free agent.
Right. So that's, he was the last Rex guy.
He would have made $9 million if they kept him, and they chose not to, and now he's
going to make much more than $9 million.
But that was the dice they rolled. Hey guys,
well, he's had like 4 good games. I mean, we'll see. He might not. I don't think he'll get paid that much, but
the market for edge rushers is insane.
You're correct, but he's been good the past 3-4 games. That's it.
I think he's been excellent all season, personally.
What? Okay. I don't agree to disagree, I guess, but he's been very noticeable. I guess what I'm saying is the past, 4 or 5 games.
I think he's getting more rotations at this point of the year than he did when the season started. In part because of how well he's played with those moments. I mean, I think the game plan was really it's going to be Hughes and Murphy with Lawson also there. And Murphy's been a basic non-factor for a lot of the season as far as I can tell. So it's falling more on Lawson. I think he's really taken and ran with it pretty well.
I mean, their biggest priorities this offseason are probably, in my opinion, signing Phillips and Shaq Lawson up to this point. I hope he doesn't get paid.
I would be interested to see if they really do re-sign Phillips. Because with how much money they might have to pay him, and you've got Harrison Phillips coming back and Ed Oliver, how much money do you want to spend on your third defensive tackle? And that's assuming I don't know Star Latulila's contract off the top of my head. That's assuming he's not back next year.
How much these guys want to stay here. If they'll take less money to stay.
They do seem to like playing for this defense, yeah.
Okay.
How many times can you say that about a Buffalo athlete?
Okay, speaking of Latulele, does it annoy anybody else how they say his name on the broadcasts? Letulele?
Everyone says it different.
Yeah, they seem to come up with it's like Yoki Haru. We just need to agree how to say it as a people.
I thought it was Lotulele.
Listen, we believe for how many years that it was Lidman and Tallender. And then they were like, nope, Ludman and Talinder. So I don't trust anyone.
And then there was Sekera.
Yeah, after he left Buffalo. That's right. Because he was Sekera.
Well, everyone's too scared to correct Generette, so once they leave, they feel safe doing it. Like, I can't tell him how to say it, but I'll tell you how to say it.
Star Latulele is in the second year of a 5-year deal.
Jesus Christ.
$10 million a year.
Potential out next year, but he will definitely be back next season because
he used to play for Carolina.
Well, that and he's got a cap hit next year of actually. Do you know what his cap hit is this year? 11.5.
Oh hell.
10.1 next year. No, the first year was pretty light actually. So he
the old mid-loaded contract. Love
base 7.15 million this year. Last year he made 3.5, and the next 6.25 next year.
So in conclusion, this really leads me to believe that Jordan Phillips will not be re-signed by the Bills.
No, I think
as well as he's played and as much as he deserves his money, I feel like he's going to have to go get it somewhere else. And that's not because he doesn't deserve to play here. He doesn't want to play here. But you can't pay your defensive tackles like that much money as a unit.
No, you can't.
Especially if one of them can't play end or like play edge rush or something.
Well, the one thing to consider is that Oral Harry may not be ready come September. I mean, that's part of it, that they may need bodies still because ACL, used to be a much longer recovery, but it's still probably at least 10 to 12 months.
It's true.
So he may not even be ready to, resume football activities till after the year starts. So
it'll be interesting to see whether or not he is ready for camp. But unfortunately, the decision for Jordan Phillips probably needs to be made before whether or not Harrison Phillips will be able to come back. I would guess that he's going to go in the open market. He'll make his money, and he deserves it. I would love Lawson back, though, and I think at this point, Hughes is aging. Murphy's it was worth a shot. He's been okay. He's not really anything special. I think you could serve to go out and re-sign Lawson and pursue another edge rusher.
What's Murphy's contract like, Bill? He's still on that?
Yeah,
page?
I can look it up real quick.
I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here at the Bills offseason, but I think yesterday really, really kind of shined a light on how much they have a need for a true number one wide receiver.
All right, so I'm not doing this to attack you. I'm just curious because people use the term genuine, like true number one receiver. What do you mean by true number one receiver?
Big body, physically dominant. John Brown, but
a foot taller,
a foot larger, and more physical. And John Brown has the talent, but he just lacks the size and go up and get it ability, and just the very consistent. He's had a lot of drops the past a few weeks.
Trent Murphy this year, second of a 3-year deal, making 5.8, and salary cap hit of about 8.7. Next year, almost 9. 8.95 is the hit.
So he'll be back.
I think he'll be back. Yeah.
They need a real cold weather receiver.
Although, one thing real quick, sorry, Trent Murphy, you take less than $2 million in dead cap if you didn't want to resign him.
Yeah,
or bring him back.
I don't know.
And they have the cap room, so I don't know. Maybe getting rid of him doesn't help or hurt.
Yeah, it may not be a decision, but
so getting back to the receiver conversation, the reason I asked this question is I think people want a thing that doesn't exist that's an available asset. Like how many players like Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins are available?
Oh, not a ton for sure, yeah.
I would argue that there's none. Like unless you think that one of these guys coming out, like you want to go and move up and get Laviska Shenault, who might be the biggest body of those receivers.
T. Higgins being good. Listed a couple times in some mock drafts to the Bills, and he's a good, but I don't know. I think we've all learned that wideout is a real crapshoot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
you trade up and get Sammy Watkins.
You think you know and you don't know. Right now, actually, I'm just on Tankathon, and they have the Bills taking Curtis Weaver, who's an edge rusher from Boise State. So
I don't hate it.
You talk about
more defense.
Your cheap defensive lineman that you can, not cheap, but relatively cheap, that you can control.
I would argue, and this is putting the cart way before the horse, because the Bills could theoretically end the season 12-4 and not get anyone they want in the draft at that high, which is a great kind of problem to have.
That right now, then this projected to be 25th.
Okay, well, cool. That's a pretty high projection.
I like that.
The draft for receivers this year is very deep. So if there's not a guy you really feel like you need, drafting an edge rusher or another position of need and going receiver second round, you might still get a guy you really like in the second round, because I was reading through Walter Football's receiver rankings yesterday, and T. Higgins is like 12th or 13th.
Right. So this, again, just going off of this, both Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs from Alabama, both projected first rounders. CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma projected first rounder. T. Higgins, also you mentioned Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. So that's 6 guys right there. And there's a few more that can go in the second round too, including another Alabama. Actually, all 3 Alabama receivers are probably going to go in the top 40 this year.
Tua Tagovailoa is a system quarterback.
That's right.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And his system says his hips broke. You hate to see that.
So here's something crazy. I was listening to state-sponsored sports radio today for some stupid reason, and one of the crazy things they were talking about is possibly picking up Amari Cooper from Dallas, because Dak Prescott, according to them, has to be paid.
That's correct.
Somebody's putting his number at about $40 million per year, which seems a little bit ridiculous.
Quarterback contracts are just going to keep getting more and more ridiculous as every year goes by. Just wait till Mahomes is up.
But that can squeeze Dallas very badly.
These quarterback contracts might be a hot take. The contracts keep going up and up and up, but the parity keeps getting more and more even. There's not much parity in the league now. I don't know.
I disagree with that. I think that the top quarterback is still a lot better than like the 10th best quarterback. I just think that coaching and offensive football has gotten so much better that having Jimmy Garoppolo as opposed to Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers doesn't matter as much anymore.
I would say more along the lines of the quarterbacks are getting paid so much money now. There's kind of less money to spend elsewhere on the team.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was going with.
There's an argument to be made that there are certainly teams that have won with a guy who, I think about the Trent Dilfer Ravens or the Brad Johnson Buccaneers, or some of these teams are guys who were able to win with quarterbacks on younger deals like Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh before he was really the star that he is these days. Having money to spend on other assets and surround your quarterback is certainly beneficial. And like what Mike's mentioning with Dallas, if Dak Prescott was on the second year of his rookie deal, they could afford Amari Cooper. If they have to pay Dak Prescott some ungodly amount of money per year in the event that they choose to bring him back, and that's a hilarious thought if they don't do that, then Amari Cooper goes out to free agency, and he is 25 years old, very complete route tree. He's not a number one receiver in the sense that I think people think of like a Calvin Johnson type where he's a big body, go up and get it guy. He's bigger than John Brown. But I think it depends on what you expect out of your receivers. And as far as I'm concerned, and this is maybe too critical after one bad Josh Allen game, I don't care who's out there at receiver if he's throwing the ball 5 yards over everyone's head when he goes 10 yards down the field.
I think this team is just another outside guy. This is all around, really.
Because he's got guys who are running past guys yesterday, and he's sailing everything over their heads. Unless he literally had Marquise Goodwin on this team, and you could overthrow him.
He's also very, very windy yesterday. Let's not forget that. Not making an excuse for him.
Isn't that why we drafted him?
It is fine. No, I'm not making an excuse for him.
He could throw through the wind.
Because there's some were deep. There's a couple that were short. One that was scary short. It almost got picked off.
That got killed up in the air. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, we can only cut him the deep ball excuse so many times. I think a lot of other areas of his game have come around, but he's supposed to be big arm guy, go down the field and make the plays, and our offense is significantly lacking in that department. He's going to get blitzed to death until he fixes it.
Oh, I think it's just clearly implanted right front dead center in his head right now. And every time he throws it, he's thinking about it. He's gripping the ball too tight. I don't know if he needs an off season just to get it out of his head or something. But I think that's just the forefront of it at this point. Now he's just thinking it, but he's overthinking it. He's aiming it, not just letting it come naturally. But the one that Dustin Knox was real nice. When the Beasley was nice, it's there. He'll get there. I'm not worried about it, but it is tough when you see a team like the Ravens come in here and say, "I dare you to make this throw," and it's there 7-8 times, and you just.
Especially in the first quarter. If he completes 2 or 3 of those,
whole different game.
They're probably leading, early on, and then the whole game changes. But we can play the shoulda, woulda, coulda all day.
A lot of the pregame conversation and, Bills online communities was, well, this is the 2 best quarterback. This is the 2 best quarterbacks of the 17 draft. These are the, or the 18 draft. These are the 2 of the young guns and everything like that. And you saw, and we continue to see, even though he wasn't like super superlative, how much better Lamar Jackson is than everybody else at this point when it comes to that draft class. And if Josh Allen is second, or Baker Mayfield on any given day, or Sam Darnold, or whoever it is, Jackson's got the and he's also the product of a brilliant offensive scheme that is playing exactly to his strengths.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because this game was so televised. It was almost a nationally televised game. It was almost everywhere across the country.
The lead early for CBS.
Yeah, and if you're Joe Schmo watching the game in Iowa, who just happened to watch a Thanksgiving game, and you see Josh Allen versus the Cowboys and Josh Allen versus the Ravens, you're like, what the hell's up with this guy?
Yeah.
I saw him last week and he was lights out. It was a rough game for Josh, but also a lot of drops too. It was regardless of how what you say about the offense, is the end of the game. It's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was like, the Bills are hanging tough with this Super Bowl contender, and I was like, gosh, they're pretty good. This team is good. We were so critical all year long, but it turns out they might be good.
Did you guys talk about the 2-point conversion when they went for it?
No.
Because people seem to land on both sides of the fence of if they should have went for 2
They
with
had to
7
go
minutes.
for it anyways. I don't get what the
my logic, and maybe someone here disagrees, but even like Mike Harrington thought it was dumb, and there were a lot of people that Dan Fouts thought it was the dumbest thing ever. So
yes,
if Dan Fouts calls something stupid, it's a great idea.
He was very open about that.
But with 7 minutes to go, my point was, if you miss it and you know that you're down 9 points, you then get to play the clock and the rest of the game knowing that you need a field goal and a touchdown.
You know where everything stands
with that. If you kick the extra point and now you're down 8 and you need 2 with how much time was left at that last drive there? If you need 2 with 18 seconds to go and you miss it, your game is over. Like, I'd rather have all the cards on the table with 7 minutes to go and see exactly where I stand. Yeah, they might have been in worse off position being down 9 instead of 8. Now, granted, they made it, so all this goes out the friggin' window. But for me, like, I want to know exactly where I stand as late in the game as possible, or I'm sorry, as early in the game as possible, so I don't have to try to pull it out of my ass at the end.
It puts your scenario right in front of your face. You know what you need to do. You may change how you played based on how many points you're down. If you're down 9 instead of 7, you're going to play a totally different way. You know you're going to have to get a quick touchdown and a field goal still.
And you assume with 7 minutes to go, you'll get 2 more possessions. The Bills did get 2 more possessions after that. Mm-hmm. You can't always assume that. It's possible the Ravens would take the kickoff and just kill the clock.
No
defense is playing lights out. So you assume 2 more possessions anyway. And if you're down 9, I don't know. I play every scenario out to the end. I wonder if they were down 9, if they had the ball with 3.5 minutes to go on the 20, would they kick a field goal on second down? And then, you know what I mean? Nobody, you never see it.
It would be crazy, but
that way you give yourself more time on the clock. The number of times you watch teams beat themselves with the clock, but it seemed progressive to me that they went for 2 there, and I'm glad they did, because instead of playing not to lose, they tried to play aggressive to put themselves in a situation.
McDermott said he used analytics. Analytics said that they told him they had a greater probability if they went for it right then.
And that is true. There's an article done on 538 that I encourage everybody to read about talking about when to go for 2.
Always.
And that scenario is
all the time.
I would go for it every time. I feel like get the ball in the 2-yard line.
If you get it half the amount of time, which conversion rate's like 49%, You get it
Something
half
like
the
that.
amount of time, you're in no worse shape.
Was it like
But if
four-
you make it twice, how many times did the Steelers score a touchdown and go for two
I was
the
going to
first
say,
time?
like 4 or 5 years ago, the Steelers every time they scored to open a game, they would go for 2.
Because then if you make it, you have now completely changed the other team's approach, because in theory it's a 1.5 score game for them. I love it. Because, I mean, now, especially with so many extra points being missed too, like I would go for 2.
If it's a wet field, I'm going for it almost every time because it makes it harder to kick, and they're missing much more. And just you're on the 2-yard line. Just go for it.
Do you think some of it is coaches not wanting to upset their kicker? Like, it's got to be a part. Like,
No, I think coaches most naturally tend to be very conservative, lowercase c, conservative by nature.
But
They
we
play
saw-
not to lose
Who
rather
was the
than
dude
to
mad
win.
that he didn't get to kick the field goal? Was it McManus? Yeah, he was pissed last Sunday that they didn't trot him
for
out there for
Denver?
like a 65-yarder.
Yeah, but
my thought is if you never let your kicker go out and kick an extra point, he's going to be like, "What the hell, man?"
It's just such a. I think it's such I had. What I was going to say. I forgot. What the fuck I was going to say now.
Sorry.
God damn it! Holy shit! Fuck me. Sorry.
I'm just going to stare at you until you say
I'm
something.
making it worse.
The point is the analytics would agree with Sean McDermott that what he did was right. The fact that Mike Carrington thinks it is wrong makes it more right.
Yes.
God, it's such a scapegoat league now, and a hindsight league where it's like, what if
I love that call.
And then on top of it, it works. So why is anyone complaining about
Yeah.
it?
Oh, he rolled the dice and got lucky.
Because it's
No.
Buffalo sports, and if some of these media people aren't complaining, they're not happy.
If they're not complaining, they're not talking half the time. I mean, and at the end of the day, we don't like moral victories. That's fine. I get it. I would have liked to win the game, control your own destiny in the AFC East. The point is, this game is important because the Bills hung with a team that is widely considered to be a Super Bowl favorite, is a conference favorite, is running teams into the ground. You kept with them. You were within a play late. You proved that you can play with the best teams in your conference. You proved it with the Patriots. Now you proved it with the Ravens. You proved it with the Titans, who might win their division. This Bills team is now capable of not just going to the playoffs, they are capable of playing a team that is going to be against them in the playoffs well. Maybe even, dare I say, this team could win a playoff game.
You know what's different, Jeff? You talked about the moral victory. When you're 9-3 and comfortably in a wild card spot with a 98% chance to make the playoffs, and you play well against the team and lose, you can go, yeah, good effort. When you're, 13-9-3, and you go to Boston and you play a really good game but lose 3-2, you don't have that leash. I'm not trying to transition us to Sabres, but like the Bills have
Kind of
earned the
sounds
right.
like you are, but go on.
The Bills have earned the right to play a good game and lose
Sure.
because they're 9-3.
Right.
This isn't they're in the hunt and now they're still 2 games out of the wild card, but they played well against Baltimore. No, they're in first place in the wild card and they're controlling their own destiny. And in a game that no one expected them to win, they almost did. And they've earned the right to get a moral victory yesterday with the fans.
And if they win, don't they clinch at worst the 5th seed in the playoffs? Because they'll be 2
If they
games
beat
up on
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh.
yes, that is correct.
So next week they take on the Pittsburgh Steelers with not nearly as good of offense, down their 3rd string quarterback, and but a solid defense and one of the best secondaries in the league, as Jeff was saying earlier.
Yeah,
They play against the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th ranked defenses going down the stretch here. They're the 4th. The Bills are the 4th. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut that off.
No, you're fine. And this might be just recent bias here, but I'm more scared of playing Pittsburgh than I am about playing New England right now. New England looks completely lost on offense. Pittsburgh's defense makes plays. Pittsburgh's defense makes things happen. This is a tough game. You're on the road at Heinz Field. They have a crazy good primetime record. They took over a crowd in Arizona on Sunday. I don't know if you guys caught any of that on Red Zone or whatever. I was watching the end of the Cardinals-Steelers game, and God bless Kyler Murray for trying on that last drive. But the entire lower bowl was terrible towels in Glendale.
Yeah, they do that in Arizona. They did it to the Chargers in that Sunday night game. I mean, the Steelers are one of the most fervent fan base. It's like them, the Packers. You don't necessarily think from where they sit geographically that they're going to travel so far, but there's tons and tons of Steelers fans everywhere. So yeah, they have I'd almost rather. I think they're, given the current situation, I expect them to play very loose on Sunday night. I think that they kind of know. I don't want to say they have nothing to lose, but this is their opportunity. This is the biggest stage in football, and they're finally back on it. So now we can really focus in, get a victory over, I think, an even peer. You're on the road, but you have a shot. You got to take a swing at this. And I think the offense will bounce back, and we just need the defense to play well.
Can I pitch a potential cold takes exposed, hot take exposed?
Always.
Go ahead.
That Josh Allen might be emerge as a primetime gamer. He showed out on Thanksgiving. Primetime.
He's a baller.
31 million people watching. He showed out. Sunday Night Football. First time the Bills have been on Sunday Night Football in his lifetime. Not really, but close enough. 2007 or something, right? 2006.
Yep, 2007.
Yeah. So I think he goes into Pittsburgh. He shows out again. I think he bounces back from this game, and I think he starts to get a little bit of a moniker that he's a primetime gamer. I don't know.
Heinz Field. They're playing in Heinz Field.
Yes.
Not a loud stadium. I went to a couple years ago. I went to a Bengals Steelers game, which is in conference rival.
In division,
You
yeah.
can hear a mouse fart in that stadium. And I went there wearing a Bengals jersey to be the antagonist I tend to be. And nothing is a much different atmosphere than the Ralph. I don't think it'd be crazy loud. It's a road game all the same, but you talk about the Steelers' defense and their ability to make plays and all that. The one that I would say with Josh Allen the past 6 weeks is his ability to. He's been keeping the ball safe. He's not been forcing throws. He's not been putting the ball in dangerous spots. Just been missing throws. So it kind of makes you feel better about playing that talented secondary and Fitzpatrick and all that jazz.
Yeah, I think the key is going to be on Josh taking care of the football. If you turn the ball over a couple times against this team, you are in a dangerous situation because, we all looked and laughed at Pittsburgh when they traded a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and all of a sudden it looks like they might have known what they were doing the whole time because they've got a keystone to their defense, and they got him and Watt and Dupree, and Joe Hayden's having a little bit of career resurgence this year. The key is going to be hold on to the football. I'm not worried about Pittsburgh's offense beating Buffalo's defense. I think the defense can hold their own. The key is going to be don't beat yourself. I do think the Bills win, but they got to just take care of the ball.
Maybe it comes down to the Bills' defense making plays.
So I think the Bills could generate 3 turnovers easy on Sunday night.
I think a big part of the game is the Bills generating a 1-2 punch at the running game. You dress another running back and don't run Frank Gore nearly as much.
Just put TJ Yeldon in. I had this thought earlier because Pittsburgh's going to blitz. Yeah, he's just not dressing. Pittsburgh's going to blitz you because Baltimore proved it worked. You want to negate that? Go to the screen game. You want to utilize the screen game? Use Singletary. Maybe you give Yeldon some touches. He's a great receiving back. Let him play. Give it a go.
And Frank Gore has been ineffective the past little while.
He got his milestone. You don't have to feel bad about not playing him.
And that was always my take throughout the year. They're going to get him to that milestone, and you'll see his play drop significantly. That was always my take throughout the year.
Kind of like adrenaline is getting him there.
Maybe. Anyways, so what do you guys think about the game? They pull it out? Predictions?
I'm just excited to watch a primetime football Buffalo Bills game.
I keep forgetting it's prime time.
It feels great.
You're going to watch a bunch of different teams play, and then the Bills are still going to play after that.
The slate of day games sucks, by the way.
I haven't seen
it
the schedule.
Terrible.
Is it that bad? Yeah.
It is just the worst.
I actually don't watch much football outside of the Bills. To be honest
Red
with you.
Zone, love it. My wife
You got a New England-Cincinnati game.
They're on to Cincinnati, folks, after cheating again.
Dalton.
What do you guys think
Dalton
about
and the
that?
Bengals beat the Patriots. Let's do it.
NFL spokesperson saying that it's part of a team video.
The most damning thing is the quote when he said, if it's true, Diana, ESPN, whoever she is, reported that. He said, can't we just delete this and forget it ever happened? He was confronted for what he was recording, and if true, and he said,
do your job.
So while Steve was pointing that up, the slate of Sunday games, there's a couple decent ones to find that I look up here. Texans-Titans at 1 o'clock. That'll be the best game. Bears-Packers at 1 o'clock as well. Rams-Cowboys. Depends on how you feel about watching a Cowboys game again.
That's the 4 o'clock, though, right?
Yeah. You have Jets-Ravens Thursday night, another primetime action. That'll be a close competitive football game. Patriots-Bengals. Dolphins-Giants. Browns-Cardinals.
Crap.
Falcons-Niners.
Games are just crap.
Jaguars-Raiders. Broncos-Chiefs. And Vikings-Chargers. And Seahawks-Panthers. And rounding it out, Buccaneers and Lions.
You find it? Because I have
Good.
it. She tweeted out, a source tells me a Bengals employee was watching the videographer cameraman who identified himself as a Robert Kraft employee. The Bengals employee kept an eye on that monitor. The shot was of the Bengals coaches and staff on the sidelines for the entire first quarter. The Bengals employee flagged media relations. Bengals security then interviewed the Kraft videographer. This was also taped. The cameraman asked if they could just delete the footage and it all be forgotten, per sources. That's Diana, ESPN, 4 hours ago, tweeting that out.
And then someone shared car, Mike, sorry.
And I'd be willing to bet that they had a way of getting that video right out to somebody.
And then there's also someone shared a screenshot from the original Spygate story years ago where they said, just tell them you're a videographer with Kraft Productions, Patriots TV. Tell them you're filming the quarterbacks or kickers or filming a team show. Which is what they said. They're filming a team show about scouts. But still, it'll be super easy to do that. It'll still be a kind of very elaborate thing. We're going to doing this TV show, and you do actually do clip stuff and put it out. But you have a lot of scenes in the middle of sidelines that you're putting.
Imagine thinking you have to cheat to beat the fucking Bengals.
Hey, it's any given Sunday in this league.
But it isn't. The Bengals are the worst. I know we said this about the Dolphins earlier. The Cincinnati Bengals, without designing their team to do so, are the worst unintentionally tanking football team in the history of the National Football League.
Maybe Belichick has some kind of chemical imbalance. He's a maniacal cheater.
That is possible.
He just can't control it. Like
He said he doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, of
could
course.
literally be an addiction. Like who knows? He just maybe just gets like yeah.
Some of that footage.
It's like the episode of South Park where they're fighting all the sex ghosts.
Well, Sean McDermott chasing off Belichick's son and another coach off the field at the end of a warm up. Like
Is take every advantage you can get, and until the NFL actually does something about it, why would you not do it?
yeah, I like what you put on. I'm assuming it was Bill put that on
Wasn't
Twitter
me.
earlier about banning from the postseason or something. Was that you?
Yeah, I said that unless
Crack down on it.
you say that if you're caught videotaping another team, you're banned from the postseason, no questions
You're
asked.
gonna find a team. I think what's the max fine for a team? $250,000.
$500,000, I think. Didn't
That's
they
nothing.
get for
Robert Kraft
one of
pays that to some.
one of the gates? Here's my opinion on this: every team cheats, and I don't really care.
You're not wrong.
The Patriots seem to get caught, but they're
I feel
also
like the
the
Patriots
best
are
at
way
it.
more over the top.
I feel like they're
Yeah,
more
they may be,
they're
but
more
they're-
acceptable ways
Well, they've
of cheating. But the
won
Patriots
6 Super Bowls, so I can't really
it's
go.
like the sign stealing. A-Rod, who's not necessarily doesn't have integrity, he's like, look, you want to steal signs from second base and use the human element? Fine. But using a video camera to do it, using technology, it feels like it's on another level.
I am sure that most, if not all, teams are using some version of this, and they're just not getting caught.
Trey Wait that they're picking up game sheets.
Yeah, they
Did
put
you see his-
the
did you
fan
see
behind the
his
Ravens.
Instagram
What an
post?
asshole.
Did you see the Instagram post? He said, I thought it was Pro Bowl voting results. The link is in the bio to vote me into the Pro Bowl. It was very, very good social media from Trey White.
Truly our
hilarious.
best goalie in Buffalo.
He's hilarious.
Trey White is
not too far
like
off.
probably one of the best things going in sports.
They should
It's
include-
just amazing.
They should include Trey Wade into the Sabre skills competition somehow.
I would love to see just like a shootout at the Sabre Skills Comp with Trey White as goalie.
There's some Buffalo Bills players shooting on Trey Wade as goalie.
Get him in one net, get Vino in the other.
The
Just make it a
funniest
one
thing
Buffalo.
we've ever had Pagula Sports and Entertainment give us was that Trey White video where he's just interviewing his teammates about hockey. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's holding a stick. It's still like that's the funniest thing that they've ever done.
You should know about
before.
offside. You offside all the time.
Man, if
Great.
the PSD
So
sports
good.
teams were good as their video teams, to be such a different.
Shout out to friend of the pod Andrew Meyer and the Buffalo Bills video team.
They're great.
They're the best.
Super good.
Bills and Sabres. The PSC team. They have so much great video content.
Even the video production,
The Beyond Blue and
in the
Gold,
rink is
yeah.
good. Like before a game, the video that they did on the Hockey Fights Cancer night with Andre, the 4-year-old and then like the 90-year-old is amazing.
it's either funny or impactful. There's like no real gray area. That's all very good. Anyways,
Well, speaking of goaltenders in Buffalo, I think that is as good of a segue as we're going to get into talking about the Buffalo Sabres.
I tried 20 minutes ago and Bill yelled at me.
I didn't yell at you.
I'm kidding.
He just saw right through it and did the same thing himself.
Called it out.
And then went ahead and did the same damn thing. Buffalo Sabres finishing up their Western Canada swing, coming off an overtime victory against the Edmonton Oilers. Early goals from the log line in their many broken up forms. Game gets to overtime, but unlike Vancouver, they're able to pull it out with a Colin Miller goal. Amazing what happens when
Look out.
Colin Miller's allowed to play in the game. instead of having to sit on the sideline for Jake McCabe or whoever else.
In the
What do we got?
press box.
Yeah, what do we make of this team, guys? If they're in a playoff spot right now, they're fighting for it. They're getting healthier. Jack is playing
Torrid.
Yeah, this is his
What
best
is it?
stretch of his
32,
career.
30 or 32 points in 13 games?
Is that good?
It's insanity.
It's all right.
All right.
It's pretty good. And his points per game just keeps going up and up and up every year, too. And this is really, I believe it is the common time frame that players are expected to really start to bloom in their third to fourth year. And he is really hitting his prime right
Just
now.
imagine if they had a respectable second line. Respectable, so but a solid second line.
It's the middle
gonna
six
say-
that's doing him in.
They're doing okay, and I still want to trade tomorrow.
They still super easy to trade.
yeah.
The offense still lacks a ton of depth and skill. But I was just imagine if they had the second line just to take pressure away from him. Like the offense is just Jack. It all drives through him. If he just has an off night, the Sabres usually lose.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Like the game where he literally scored all 4 goals, and without him, they would have been lost to Ottawa. But hey,
I mean, 3 points out of 3 games in the Western Canada swing doesn't feel terrible.
I take it every time.
I know we're disappointed by how the Vancouver game ends, but I feel like a lot of other Sabres teams would have lost that game when it was 5-3, and this team clawed back. So that feels good. Of course, you would like that Eichel goal in overtime to count because you don't want to be taking that penalty, and then your special teams goes out there in an unenviable situation. But 3 points out of 3 games feels okay. Calgary just seemed to have their number over the last couple of weeks, and Calgary's kind of figuring some of their own things out. So they might be one of those better teams that you wonder how much that coaching change is going to really help them. I thought early
Their lines are
season,
completely different too.
yeah.
Monahan, Lindholm, and Gaudreau are on 3 different lines now.
And it's weird to think like Monahan and Gaudreau were joined at the hip for the first
And
couple of years
Lindholm,
there together.
they all were. There was their line almost all of last year.
But now comes the next part of the test. You went out to the West Coast and you did okay. Now you come home for a couple games. What do you do when Ryan O'Reilly and the Blues are back in the building? What do you do here for these next couple of games on home ice? Can you get a couple victories here? Because if this team comes through the week with a couple more victories, I feel like they head into the holiday season pretty solidly in contention. If they have another stinker stretch here over the next couple of weeks and they fall out of the playoff spot, they go into the new year and you're like, oh, same old Sabres. It feels like this is really an impasse for this hockey team over the next couple of weeks.
I am continuously voting for them to never take a penalty or draw a penalty ever. If they could just play 5-on-5, 60 minutes every night, I think they'd be much better because for whatever reason, their power play likes to give up more goals than it scores, and their penalty kill doesn't know what they're doing. You get
Their penalty kill is the worst in the league.
2 Jimmy VC breakaways that neither one results in a shot attempt. I don't mean a shot on goal. Both of his breakaways against Edmonton resulted in a poke check or a shot or not getting a shot away. He didn't even get a shot attempt on either one. So I'm casting my vote in the column for no special teams, power play or penalty kill, and I think that
We decline this penalty.
Yep.
And they're a power play away from being a playoff contender or a solid playoff contender. That's all. And then it's weird because they started the season and they were on fire.
Well, the cross ice passes were there, and now they're not, and they still try to force them.
And Jack's not shooting it from that wing. If they were just like distribute it and make them both threats, as opposed to having one threat, now it's one dimensional. We talk about Jack and the offense driving through him. Dmitry Filipovic tweeted out earlier a bunch of crazy stats. Sabres outscoring teams 18-8 with Jack Eichel on the ice at 5-5 and 29-12 overall. Sabres getting outscored 14-12 at 5-5 without him on the ice.
And this is just during his 13-game point streak specifically. So he's got 10 goals and 13 assists. He's got a 20% shooting percentage, which I did not realize when I was looking at this. That's insane. He's drawn 9 penalties. These are just ridiculous. I mean, at this point, he's literally playing at an MVP pace at this stretch of hockey. Now, of course, to do that, to be MVP, you have to stretch this out over the rest of the season, not maybe to this extent. But it still feels like he could play this well, and this team could still miss the playoffs, which is crazy, because if you have a guy who's playing this well, you should be coasting. You should be riding your star player. That's why you tanked in the first place, to get him. But he is so much better at this point than everyone else he plays with that someone has to step up. Now, it doesn't have to be anyone in particular. It could be
just someone.
But particularly a second or third line center or winger would be great, other than Jeff Skinner, because Skinner's already playing decently well.
So So is Jack earning his money, or do those 24 assists also not count?
He's been so good.
Doing
I
good.
mean that game-winning goal, that Miller game-winning goal was started by Eichel getting a nice rush through, having heads up to get the puck to Johansson, who got it right across to Miller, and
I believe Jack brought it back to the neutral zone and reset it, right? And
I
Jack
think
was
so,
also
yeah.
at the end of his double shift.
Right. He was double
stayed
shifting
out there, which is great. I love how Kruger gives him the ability to do that. I love when Kruger, he'll go like the Eichel line, and then he'll roll out like the Larson line, and then he goes right back to the Eichel line. I love that he does that. But it was Eichel, I believe, he had the puck on the far boards, skated it all the way out in front of both benches, looped back around at his own blue line, and I believe then fed Johansson at the blue line to develop that play.
And it was just, I mean, it's a secondary assist, yes, but it was probably the main critical component of the play, other than Miller putting the puck in the net.
Sometimes the secondary assist is the most important assist. I hate people that dog on secondary assist. Sometimes it's just, but it's just that starts the whole play.
It's the puck battle or the
sometimes-
breakout pass, right?
Yeah, sometimes your play that doesn't even, your first pass may not even register as a point at all, and that's the most important part of the play.
Eichel holds on to the puck to the very last possible instance, and just actually it was a really nice, a strong pass down to Johansson, and Johansson made a great feed over to Miller. Goalie actually got a piece of it, but just the angle of it hit his blocker, I think, maybe, or pad, and snuck its way in.
Miller's first goal as a Sabre, which I was surprised.
Eichel,
First goal as a Sabre, first career overtime goal, first career game-winning goal for Colorado.
Eichel's all the offense is all driving through that line, and Eichel, and I think his line mates have essentially been very pedestrian 5-on-5. Sam Reinhart is having a very pedestrian season, and a lot of his goals are deflections. A lot of he's not really creating much for himself at this point. Actually, a big goal against yesterday was Sam Reinhart trying to do too much. Should just dumped it in, made the change.
I have a loaded question that I just thought about. I'm curious what the pulse of the room is. After Jack Eichel, who would you say are the next 3 best Sabres forwards this season?
Jeff Skinner, Johan Larsson.
He's been good.
Shut up.
That whole line has been solid.
Maybe not production wise, but he's been a solid forward this season.
Skinner, Johansson, and Eichel.
Skinner, Johansson, and
After
Larsson.
Eichel.
After
doesn't
Eichel,
count.
yeah.
And Larsson.
Oh, you said after Eichel.
After Eichel, yeah.
I think Olafson's picked up his 5-on-5 play, but like I said, it's not creating a ton, individually, which is I think is a big factor. But Olafson's having to turn it around. Johansson and Skinner are able to create stuff for themselves, though. We're not seeing that a lot of Jack's wingers, which is what I'm trying to get to. But
Yeah.
Johansson and Skinner and Larsson.
Say Middlestat, Okposo, and Sabaka.
Was it the what was it, Thursday?
Aspen's been good too.
Was it Thursday where it was like Skinner, Johansson, and Larson or something like that as a line?
Yeah.
It's like
and Skinner was
hate
raving
this.
about how much he loved Larson as a line mate.
And now who's off his line?
decent.
Skinner's raving about
They
him.
need to reunite Okposo and Larson though, and it's worked. So I won't judge that.
Okposo, Larson, Skinner.
Oh my goodness!
Why?
Jeff's
Why are
going
we
to ask for a
having this
trade.
conversation?
I don't know. I just think
They had to reunite Okposo.
they were
and
playing
Larson,
well,
it's
and
working
Skinner's been raving
very
about him.
well.
They take him off the line, but I don't know.
Well,
What's he gonna
none of them
say?
can really play.
What's he
got a lot
going to
of-
say if they go, "Hey Jeff, what's it feel like to play with Johan
It
Larson?"
fucking sucks. Jeff Skinner, probably.
Love Johan.
I'm not sure if that's a direct quote or not, but
He'll be back next year.
Unfortunately, Harrington's voice recorder wasn't ready to go at that moment, so we got the rest of the quote. And then Hamilton told him to watch his language, and we got the quote that we got.
He actually just blocked him on Twitter. He didn't say anything.
He just
he
blocked
just opened up Twitter and blocked Jeff Skinner on Twitter, and that was it.
Doe.
Gave him the personal and gave him the in-person block. You never see it. So what do we got this week on the schedule? We got St. Louis.
I'm mad about
night.
this
This comes
schedule.
out here. That's a rough stretch. St. Louis Tuesday night, and then Nashville Thursday night. I feel like you learn a lot, and then the Islanders Saturday night. I feel like you learn a lot about this team over the next week and two. And you got Toronto and Philly on the road next week. Those are two teams that are, teams you're going to compete with for playoff spots. Philly's having a good stretch. Toronto's right there with the Sabres in the standings right now. It's a tough 5 games, but if you want to be thought of as a playoff contending team, you have to do at least decent in this stretch here, because if you fall down to these teams again, where do we look at coming out of the holiday break?
I've been ranting about the schedule because the Sabres just spent 4 days on the West Coast in the Pacific time zone, and now they get to come back to Buffalo for what time do you think they got in from Edmonton? They probably took off from Edmonton at like 1 or 2 in the morning Pacific time.
Yeah.
Land in Buffalo early this morning, and then they have to play. I know they're professionals, I know, but like you have from October to April to schedule 82 games, and you do not even put 48 hours between a game in the West Coast in the Pacific time zone and a game in the East Coast.
I think Edmonton's Central, but still point stands.
Is it?
No, I'm sorry, Mountain.
Yeah, it would be Mountain. But you know what I mean. Like, there's no way they've
We'll meet in
adjusted,
the middle
especially
there.
because they spent 5 days out there. Like, their
Right.
clocks will have adjusted. And now, I don't know. I just think it's stupid. It was like earlier in the year when I was whining about the Sabres having to play in Columbus on a Tuesday and in Dallas on a Wednesday. Why?
they got the real
You
tough
have
schedule
from
this year.
October until April to schedule 82 games. There is no reason for back-to-back road games that are 17 states apart. I don't get it. I don't understand.
You know, there's some turd in a room somewhere calculating all the costs and how to save as much money as possible.
Or he just doesn't like the Sabres, and he's like, fuck those guys.
Edmonton and Calgary in the Mountain Time Zone. I just used the World
That's funny,
Clock
'cause I was in
app
Calgary.
on
Look at you.
I was in Calgary, and I did know it was Mountain, but
No.
I'm bad.
on my phone.
Is bad, is poor, I guess, and as the Sabres have been, and as negative as we all have been, you know, around the Twitter sphere, and sometimes in this room, you know, they're really low parts where when they're doing a lot of injuries, and they're getting healthier and they're improving. But you know, all said and done, they're still in the playoffs right now. They're not in a wild card spot. I think it's been so long since the team has been good, and I guess even relevant. We forget all the different trials and tribulations that come along with that fight to the playoffs. You have your ups and downs, your ebbs and flows, and we're getting there now. They're still a playoff team.
Yeah.
And they're not, you know, they're not far away from moving up in the Atlantic. And Boston's having a season. They're not going to catch Boston at any point soon, unless they go on a super losing streak. But this is not an awful team. They're not like a playoff lock, but I think they can get back to where they were to start the year. And I think they just need to get healthy and make a trade, and they're a much more consistent team.
Yeah, it feels like they get one more decent scoring winger in the middle six, and they're really something. Mm-hmm. Because with Johansson healthy, and God willing he stays that way, he adds a nice element. You have Skinner playing on the second line. You have Eichel and playing out of his mind. Olofsson, I think, is learning it a bit at 5-on-5. He's been better at even strength versus where he was early in the year, where he was a lock on the power play and then basically stopped existing once the fifth guy came back on the ice. But once Dahlin comes back, we're back to the same. And I'm almost tired of. I am tired of talking about it. Dahlin comes back, you have at least 2 defensemen in the press box every single game,
And there's at least one.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Someone has to go.
And how do you propose that they move somebody to get either cap space, draft picks or prospects or something like that? Is that what you're thinking that they do, or what do you thinking in that regards?
Ideally, you would like that they get a playing forward. Now, of course, that might not be possible. I don't know how many people are trying to trade a forward right now. But the point is you have too many defensemen, and at one point you only had 11 healthy forwards. So you need a player whose primary position is forward. And Justin pulled up the Rochester lines, which are fucking hilarious. There are so many defensemen in this organization. They just physically need to get rid of some of them. They just need to be gone.
They have 2 forwards playing offense and 4 defensive pairings. They have Fitzgerald and Pace on offense. Pace rotating through. And that's not including when Dahlin comes back.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
When Dahlin comes back, they already have a defenseman sitting every game. It'll be 2 defensemen every game, plus 10 defensemen in Rochester.
And they're 2 NHL defensemen. Like, who do you sit? They're quality NHL defensemen.
Like, this team could literally have all their defensemen tomorrow get the flu, and they could dress better defense than they did in Game 7 against Carolina. That's how deep this team is at defense right now. It is insane to me.
You know,
and Nathan Patrick gets to come back again, which would be really funny, actually.
And the big trade rumor out there is Alex Galchenyuk.
I don't hate it.
I like Galchenyuk.
He's a forward.
And
He's a 40.
My bar is so low.
and
He plays forward.
we talked a little bit in our Slack about the
What are you giving up for him?
McCabe
I don't
scratch.
care.
Right, the McCabe scratch, because he's wearing a letter, and he has been since the year started. And he played well to start the year, but I was not upset that they sat him down.
Real bad.
Not
What
upset that they sat him
game was
down.
it where it's like, was it Saturday's game where he was supposed to be covering the forward skating through the zone, and he just trips and stumbles over his own two skates? I'm like, oh, McCabe's being lazy. Oh, he stumbled.
I saw a take on Twitter about Galchenyuk saying that Ike will be the best center he's ever played with, as he currently plays on a team with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. But Malkin's hurt now, right? But whatever. Besides the point. I would hate for that to be the trade. To be honest with you, and there's a that
He's already
low
played
risk
for 3 teams.
There's that low risk, high reward player, but Alex Galchenyuk is just kind of more what the Sabres already have, in my opinion.
He already played for 3 teams. Drafted by Montreal, traded to Arizona, and then traded to Pittsburgh. Correct, part of the Kessel deal.
Yes.
So Montreal to Arizona for who was that trade?
Max Domi.
That sounds right.
I mean, those are 2 players that went in those directions. I guess I can confirm that was the same deal, but
That sounds right. And then Galchenyuk is part of the Kessel deal going
I mean,
back to Pittsburgh.
The Arizona Coyotes noted talent scouts then jettisoned him to Pittsburgh. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like
Arizona's first in the Pacific, so watch careful there because they're good. Kemper and Ranta are both top 10 goals against save percentage goalies. And
I just hope for their sake, and I like the Coyotes, so I'd like them succeeding, that when Kemper and Ranta come back to earth a little bit, that they have some more scoring. Which, it's a decent team.
Yeah.
They just need to have forwards. It's if I see another game where the Sabres dress 7 defensemen, I might literally have a brain aneurysm.
It's just so hard to get people here, though. No matter what you think about what you have, you've got to find somebody who can't veto a trade here.
Yeah,
you really got to have some. Everybody is acting like that whole thing about Botterill, that Twitter follow we got on the podcast account about did Jason Botterill do something or anything like that. People like that irritate me because they act like they make it sound like all Botterill's doing all day is nothing and sitting in his office. He's probably out there trying to figure out what the team needs, probably getting feedback, probably trying to make deals,
finding price points.
Well, a lot of those insiders are out there saying he's working the phones. He's out there.
I guess the reason everyone's in this spot is because it feels like there was really a trade to be made at some point over the summer before it became so crucial. And he's in charge of building this team and building it with so many defensemen and so few forwards.
I think
He made a trade.
Yeah.
He traded Nylander for Jokic.
Yeah, he picked up another defenseman.
And I was bitching about it then. But in the hindsight, Jokic has been playing very good.
Jokic fixed
and
Scandella,
Nylander
too.
has been stuck on about 4 goals for about 3 weeks now.
Noted friend of the pod, Chad DiDomenicis, posted some advanced stats on Marcus Scandella today, and it is night and day from when they took him away from Ristolainen.
Ralph Kruger fixed him. Piss off.
It's both. It's not playing Ristolainen 25 minutes next to him has helped too. It was last year all the shot charts for Scandella where everyone attacked the other side of the ice and scored a bunch of goals, and everyone left Marcus Scandella alone. Now they can't do it, and Marcus Scandella is back to being a top 4 defenseman.
I think Phil Houser came in here trying to coach a Nashville system, didn't have the players to coach it. Rex Ryan coming in running a 3-4, like when he had the players for 4-3. I just think I don't know. It's so hard. You can't say anything, but yes,
I do have one more talking point I'd like us to address about the Sabres. I think it's time Linus Ullmark started getting a good 80% of the starts.
Yep.
and the only time it seemed very random. To start the year, but now you're only seeing Ullmark in back-to-back situations, and Ullmark, and Hutton goes in. Hutton goes in, and he gets 6 goals popped in against him, and he's
Ullmark gives the team the better chance to win out there.
He's been playing very good. He lets in some tricklers, but what goalie doesn't? But he makes some humongous saves at big times for the team a lot. I think he's had a very good season so far. He's a big goalie, and he's a fighter. He's out there and he fights hard for that team. And
I'm curious. I don't mean to look ahead. I'm curious what goaltending looks like next year because they have Hutton under contract for 1 more year. Linus went to arbitration and got a 1 year, $1.5 million deal.
You have to,
and you are going to have UPL. UPL could play games next year.
You may have.
I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but next year, if a goalie gets
Cincy?
hurt, or you could see UPL play 5 or 6 NHL games next year.
You may be in a position where you have to keep Ullmark and try to shop Hutton.
Or bury him.
Or bury him.
Because he's mid-30s, right? Hutton's not young.
Yeah, he was not young when he came in.
Right. But he also didn't have a lot of miles on him because he was like the career backup. But I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same point with a lot of these guys, you kind of knew what you were getting long term with Carter Hutton. I mean, how many guys? I mean, you get Tim Thomas every once in a while, but most of these guys, when they're this far into their career, you know what they are. Like St. Louis kind of knew what he was and decided they wanted to go with Allen and Binnington. I think that was a good decision ultimately. By
Binnington
them.
was not a choice. Binnington.
All right, let me phrase it. They wanted to go with Allen, and then by lack of available options, they ended up with Jordan Binnington instead.
Yeah, they tried to send him to the coast, and he refused. Otherwise, he never would have seen the NHL.
Speaking of goalies at the coast, what's UPL doing these days, Justin?
Stopping every puck he sees.
He's still playing in the ECHL, the Cincinnati Cyclones, but he's having a really good run here. He's got a 1.81 goals against average.
He was player of the month for November or something.
Yeah, and a 92.8 save percentage.
Guy's bananas.
So he's got a 1.18 and a 1.81 goals against, and his worst game was his first game back, which was he's coming back from major hip surgery. And after that, he's goddamn
you know a storyline with Sudbury, right? They were in last place.
Yeah,
and they started playing for the Wolves, and they won the championship. He was the league MVP. Like he literally took the last place team in the OHL.
And I can't even say anything about his game. I never seen him play. I don't know what style goal he is. I don't know how much of a. Obviously, he's a gamer. The guy goes out there and scraps.
The story I always have is I was watching the Instigators the morning of the draft, and Chris Baker, who I do appreciate, I think he knows his stuff. He points out, hey, there's one goaltender that's good enough to go in the first round, and his name is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I don't know nothing about it, right? Well, sure enough, then he falls to the Sabres in the second round, and they take him. And it's not like Chris Baker said after the Sabres drafted him.
Right.
This kid is a first-round talent.
He called a shot ahead of time.
He said the morning of round one, there's one goaltender good enough to go in the first round in this year's draft, and it's UPL. And then he doesn't get taken in the first round and falls to the Sabres in the second round. So I was stoked because, like I said, it wasn't a hindsight thing. Oh, yeah, this guy's great now that the Sabres took him. He was giving him accolades ahead of time. And I'm not saying he's going to be a franchise-changing goaltender, but it certainly feels like that door is there to be opened because I don't think Ullmark, as good as he's been, Ullmark or Hutton are going to be the guy that is going to, make this team from a good team to a great team or from an average team to a good team. I don't know.
And you get another respectable threat. You get a second line as a threat in this league that you are scared of, and a goalie like UPL.
Who's going to be super cheap, by the way, too. That's the other thing UPL
You're going to get him on an entry level contract, ELC, and that could be the difference maker. Just a lot of the team issues sometimes used to be the goaltending. There's the inconsistent goaltending, and if you can get a consistent guy in here, we're hoping UPL is. All the evidence shows he could be a lights out superstar, but that could be the missing ingredient. A lot of these great teams have great goalies. Bennington comes in, turns it around for the Blues. So last time Sabres a good day. Ryan Miller in that. Before that was Dominic Hasek. Say what about goaltending is not that important. But all the best teams have great goaltenders.
Having the best goaltender isn't important, but having a bad goaltender will fucking ruin you.
What do the Sharks miss? They have all the offense and they have all some of the best defensive players in the league. They have super inconsistent goaltending. They just can't find the goalie.
I think the word you're looking for is bad. They have bad goaltending. Their goaltending is bad. To start the year, Martin
he was
Jones
very bad to start the year. It
atrocious.
was awful.
That's a team that's been snake bitten in the back of the net for years. They just can't find a true number one goalie.
Yeah, you just have to have a guy who's able to go back there
and have that to it in a long time. But sorry, carry on.
No, honestly, you just need to have a goaltender who's consistent. You don't need to have Hasek. You need a guy you can rely on. Mm-hmm. And if the Sabres have a guy they can rely on, that's another piece in place that puts you towards being a contender.
You talk about San Jose. It was Evgeny Nabokov. He was
Nabokov.
The last one. Yeah, some time ago.
Before Marty Jones, yeah.
That was a great era of goaltenders. Him and Kipper.
Kiprusoff and... Yep.
What's upsetting? So I wish I would have taken in the Hasek stuff. I wish I appreciated Hasek more. Let me just say, because you'll never see a goal like that ever again. Because he was so outside the box. He's so unorthodox. And goalies now are just so technical.
I mean, he reinvented goaltending.
We were talking about it, and Justin was right. He's like, he really didn't, because no one since him has done what he does.
No one will ever do it.
Yeah.
The thing now is come out of the crease, cut down the angle, foul, and make yourself as big as possible. And you hope your defense is there for a rebound. It's really what goaltending is these days.
He was not that way. He was flailing his body around and getting a blocker on the puck off the goal line, using his head on purpose to save pucks, throwing his stick down on purpose to make saves with his blocker.
All while being
Does anybody know how old Hasek was when he finally came to Buffalo?
He was late. He was like 28, I think.
31.
Justin's closest so far?
29.
27.
Really?
He was later in his career. He was stuck behind Belfort for a long
He never
time.
would have played. That's just
Yeah.
it. That's what the biggest quote that Hasek ever had that made me mad was after he won the cup with the Red Wings. And I know it's what you have to say. He's like, I am a Red Wing. I always have been a Red Wing and I always will be a Red Wing. And I was like, fuck you. You never would have played if Buffalo didn't pick
His
you
best
up.
years were in Buffalo.
He never would have
Right.
played behind that Belfort. There's
and that's
no
the
way.
and that's the kind of thing I'm thinking has to happen for the Sabres to get the players that they need. Is they need to basically catch lightning in a bottle, get lucky that they have to that they find this diamond in the rough that
where's Stu
would
Barnes
not
in
have
the
gotten a chance had they stayed in their current situation with their current team.
You need a guy that's in a disgruntled situation where he is, or that would just fit the system to succeed. Because Briere was this. Nobody knew who Daniel Briere was in Phoenix. It wasn't that did not move the needle for me at all when they acquired him before 05-06.
I
It
mean,
wasn't like,
the
hey,
Coyotes
this
got
team's
noted
got
Sabre
Daniel.
Chris Gratton. They were in that trade big time,
big
right?
time. And then
Yeah.
no one knew that he was
I've been in a couple
the
for 15
Danielle
years, so.
Briere at the time.
Daniel.
Danny boy.
French Canadian. I've heard everybody say Danielle.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Danielle, right. I know his name's Daniel, but he speaks French.
Yeah, Daniel Briere, one of the best Sabres in the last 15 years.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any Sabres takes you want to talk about? Bill, I see some on top of your tongue.
I was just thinking, you never think of Montreal as an island, but it is. It's in the middle of the river, but it's an island. You ever know that?
No?
That's what island usually is a body of land surrounded by water.
This has been this weekly segment of Bill's Deep Thoughts.
Well, I just was thinking about that because you were talking about a French Canadian. So that's about all I got right now.
Wow. Okay.
Noted French Canadian island.
So,
Montreal,
French-Canadian.
Quebec.
We're
Big
thinking
weekend for the Bandits, huh?
That's solid.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game on Saturday. Season opener against the San Diego Seals. That's a really good Seals team. First time these teams have ever met in Buffalo.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, they played in San Diego last year.
Yep, to wrap up the season. Yep.
Team that's still missing Austin Stotts, so it's only going to get better.
He
but
comes back. Look out.
it feels like their offense is just loaded. And Buchanan had a hell of a game, and they gave Buffalo everything they could handle.
Skiggs played well, too. I thought Skiggs played well for them. Giuliano played a good game.
Yeah. But it's 10-10 late into the fourth quarter, and Hollywood, noted aerial goal scorer, picked the perfect moment to get it in. Gets himself SportsCenter top 10, number 3 moment for a beautiful airborne goal. So my season tickets are on the other end, closer to where Vino was in that quarter. So we're looking down, and it's one of those plays like, oh, they're not going to show the replay because he might have been close to the crease, and they don't want the Seals to challenge. And they show the replay. And it's incredible how he is able to manipulate his body to get that goal in and not even come close to hitting the crease.
Well, and the little bop to the right made everyone think he was turned into the boards. And then he just came in with the crease dive. And he put on his Instagram, I appreciate all the love, because everyone was sharing the clips.
Yeah.
And I replied, I said, I appreciate you getting dummied in the face and still being around to score a goal, because he got crushed with a cross check to the neck.
So
we'll see if discipline comes out, which it probably won't, because
as a big box lacrosse fan, it is frustrating to me that the NLL is consistently officiated so inconsistently, because I feel like it doesn't reward informed fans. Not that I consider myself to be a guy who knows all the rules, because I don't. But there are a lot of things that happen in the course of an NLL season where a fan who knows the rules would be like, well, what the hell is this? And I feel like it doesn't help them grow the game, because you should want fans who are passionate and understand the rules to get their friends and family go to games. But it's not me. I'll go to games anyway. I have season tickets. I'm going to be there no matter what the referees call this year. But I feel like it hurts their cause of growing the sport to have a player who has the ball in front of 2 officials, a foot away from the crease, gets hit in the neck with a stick, like a cross check.
He looked at a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, and not the ball goes not just like given like a common foul or something. They call nothing, and the ball goes the other way.
Not even possession.
Yeah.
Nothing. And along those same lines, you're talking about informed fans. Last year's league MVP, Dane Doby, So discipline comes out on a Friday for the previous week's game. So they review the tapes and they drop an email with discipline, a disciplinary report. Well, it comes out that Dane Dobie was given a 1-game suspension for gross misconduct that turned into a match penalty.
Right.
And because he had a match penalty within the last 2 years, the suspension is
he got the Colin Crawford suspension.
6 games. So the season is 18 games long, and he was suspended for 6 of those 18 games. This is your league MVP from last year of the championship-winning Calgary Roughnecks. Mm-hmm. And when asked, the league has been asked, and when people have been asked, there's just no explanation coming. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what...
I mean, this is possibly, and the only thing I've seen that makes sense is it's like an abusive official misconduct or something, because it didn't
even happen during the game.
Right.
Apparently it was assessed afterwards. Yeah. So now the league MVP is suspended for 6 games. I'm sure he'll appeal. Calgary has a double bye, so we'll see what happens if he gets the suspension reduced or how that works out. But very interesting. So it's an interesting situation for sure.
Other quick Bandits notes. Matt Vins is still incredible.
Really good.
He won that game in the fourth quarter for them at a point they needed him to stand tall. It really felt like a last stand there when it was 12-10 and they couldn't get the ball back off all the rebounds, and Vino kept making save after save after save.
7 saves.
Then finally gets the ball, heaves it down the court, and gets an assist on Dane's hat trick goal.
Yep.
I was wondering if he was going to have a go at it for the goal before the goalie got back.
He usually does. He tries. It was like when when in the first half of the same game, he tried to scoop the Lucy and fire it down, but they ran out of time. But yeah, he's still very good. Some new names, some new faces. We cannot forget one Chris Cloutier, who had an absolute coming out party on Saturday.
He had some grown man goals. His first goal, he gets the left shoulder up, shields off the guy, and gets that shot off. I feel like
down twice.
It feels like last year he didn't get a chance to maybe play where he would like to in the offense because there were so many people there. In a weird way, he benefits from Durston and Evans being gone, because now where he scored his goals from is where Jordan Durston would normally be in that situation, kind of right in front of the goaltender. He's driving the net hard, and it was the heavyweight player of the game. It was deserved. I think that he is in a position to have a breakout year, and he's so young too. It feels like he was a veteran, came over. No, he was still a rookie when he came here.
Overall, right? So the Bandits have 2, 3, and 4 overall from last year. I asked both him and Corey Small after the game that he's kind of filling the role that Durston had as far as opening up Corey with some room on the left side and Josh, and he was chasing after loose balls in the corners and coming up with them. And Corey immediately said, Smallsy, who friend of the show, immediately said, yeah, and he goes, no offense to Dirty, but I think Chris has a better scoring touch. He's got a better offensive touch. And I'll tell you what, I believe him, because not that Dirty didn't score some real nice goals last year, but Chris scored 3 legitimate grown man goals. It just reminds me of a Kersey. Would rather bang bodies, but if he had the ball near the crease, he was going to bury, and he did.
And he had a beautiful screen to set up that third goal by Small, too. Gave him a little bit of room on the side to bury that one, and Corey Small had himself a nice little game there. He got the scoring off early when the offense couldn't really get their feet under him. He had a couple nice looks. Dane gets the scoring in late. I absolutely love Ian McKay's new goal song. That made my day when he gets a... Hey Mickey as his goal song now.
Kevin Brownell playing out the front door a bit because of just they need righties. I mean, you're without Evans and you were not expecting to lose Hogarth. Yeah. So you have Dallas Bridle scores first NLL goal, which he was a practice squad player last year, but pretty good junior player, and now he's going to be a staple of the right side. Even when Fraser gets healthy, I think that Bridle's still going to be in the lineup, and Brunell will just drop back, and you'll see like Minicello scratched or something.
Now we got 3 weeks almost before Buffalo's back to action. Do we have a feel whether or not Chase is going to be close-ish for that game? Is it still kind of up in the air?
I don't know. Thankfully, the injury didn't show structural damage that needed surgery. Now, it happened back in the summer, maybe like June, and there were some major concerns from some of the lacrosse media that I know that it looked really bad, but... He looks fine. He's walking around like no brace, none of that stuff. I think he just, because of the type of injury it was, it has to be fully healed. I don't know if he's going to be back in 3 weeks or not. They play host to the Halifax Thunderbirds. We talked about Micah Kersey, head coach Micah Kersey, assistant coach Billy D. Smith. They'll come rolling into Buffalo. Ryan Benesh playing for
Jamison.
Halifax.
A lot of familiar faces for
correct.
Bandits fans.
If you know the Rochester Nighthawks from last year, you know the Halifax Thunderbirds this year. Jake Withers had a big game. Halifax will be a good team. Warren Hill was the first star of the game, their goaltender. So Warren Hill took over for Goodleaf, who get well soon, is still in recovery after having a bit of a cardiac episode over the summer. I don't believe he's back to playing yet. So, but a good game from Warren Hill. All that said, Halifax played the new Rochester Nighthawks, so that it was kind of that was kind of a rough one. And then New York also got pumped. So
one more quick Bandit.
New York was in Halifax, right?
Yes, they were.
And where did Rochester play the week before against Georgia and got beat?
That is correct. Yes. The new Bandits, the newly created Bandits defense, and that's even with KB playing up top. That is a not fun group to play against. Noseworthy is a big, mean guy. He's out there as a rookie with the knee brace, and he is just getting in people's faces. They got him back there. You've got Priolo, who is very much one of those physical grinder type players.
Gilly.
Yeah.
Gilray will crush you.
Gilray. I thought Martin had a great game on defense, deflecting a lot of passes and shots.
Nick, we soaked one. I saw him after the game. Like he was limping.
Oh, yeah, he got one right off the foot.
He's like, oh man, it took me right down. I'm like, yeah, but Weiser soaked that one. Absolutely soaked it. But yeah.
But it feels like this defense is going to make the lives of opposing offenses very difficult. And I think as Noseworthy gets more comfortable at the pro level, their look to be, and of course it's just one game, just watching from the stands, having a beer and enjoying the game. He looked like there's really something there for him defensively. He looks like the sky is the limit for him defensively.
He played transition for Brampton and Box, but I believe in college he's the all-time points leader for Michigan all time. So he's definitely a first round pick. He's tall and very athletic, but he brings a whole lot to the table on both sides of the floor.
Took a couple face-offs, I noticed as well.
Yeah, you're waiting for Chase to come back. So Mickey took a few, Chase took
Weiser took a few.
Weiser took a few, and Noseworthy took a few. So.
And
you probably won't win too many face-offs against Halifax because Jake Withers went 16 of 18 on Saturday.
Oh man, you got to look forward to him and Baptiste in your conference this year.
Yeah,
those are two of the all-time great face-off guys. But all in all, a 13-10 win. It was just objectively, and of course the Bandits winning makes it great at the end. It was a fun game. That was a good back-and-forth game. Both teams had their moments. I think San Diego, especially when Stotts gets back, that offense is going to be something to be dealt with. I would not be surprised at all to see that team make a serious run for winning their conference and making it all the way to the Champions Cup.
Yeah, don't forget 3 divisions now, too, so that changes everything with the realignment. So Buffalo, Toronto, Rochester, and Halifax is now the Bandits division, so that changes things a little bit as well. So,
did you guys see that sweet stick that got made up for Brandon Montour?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's one of those guys who could, if lacrosse played as much as hockey, I'm curious what sport he would have played because he was dynamite at both.
He won the Minto Cup in 2014. He's very good. I always use the bar trivia. The first team to draft Matt Molson was the Rochester Nighthawks. The Nighthawks drafted Matt Molson before he got drafted into the NHL.
Maybe when Darlene comes back, they can send Montour over to the Bandits for a little while. See if you.
Darlene over
could be a thing they could do.
I'm confused. You said
Montour.
When Dalek comes back,
yeah. Sorry, I wasn't tracking that.
An intersports trade rarely seen.
Yeah, it's making a trade
the
for
Bo Jackson of
Those guys are hockey players. Let's see what they got. Montour it's got to be a forward though.
It's got to be a forward. So Chase Frazier to the Sabres.
John Tavares.
I've seen Priolo play lacrosse while skating a bunch of times.
Tavares has got a good hockey pedigree.
Yeah.
How old is he? 40 something. Get him out there.
Get him out there.
He was a forward. Again, my only requirement.
Yeah, he didn't say what sport, so I guess that's a good point.
Inter-organizational.
If Lionel Messi wants to play hockey, sign him up. Anyway, I think that reaches the end of our Bandits segment. Bandits have to have a little bit of day of the double bye as well.
Sorry, I broke it.
Back to the 28th of December. It's a home game against the Halifax Thunderbirds. It'll be the next time the Buffalo Bandits are in action, and we hope to see you all in Bandit Land.
Same night that the Buttes play at Riverworks. Justin and I will be calling that game.
Busy night downtown. Canisius Hockey plays across the street at Harbor Center in the afternoon. Then there's a Bandits and a Buttes game, and the Bills on Sunday will be their season finale against the Jets. So that's a really good Buffalo sports weekend. No matter what your preferred sport is, get out, support your local teams, and we hope to see you at many of those events around the greater 716 area. Anything else here tonight, gents, before we wrap up?
I got nothing.
Everyone's just staring off into space. I'll take that as a no. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We will be back here next week recapping Bills and Steelers in prime time feels good to finally have a Bills primetime game again. Hopefully a little bit more uplifting than the last couple ones that I remember. Recapping some tough Sabres games, see how the Sabres are standing after having some games against the Blues, the Predators, and the Islanders. You can find this podcast and other podcasts that we produce on our Facebook, 716 Sports Podcast, on our Twitter at 716 Sport Podcast. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever you prefer to download things and place them inside of your ears. We'll be back here next week with another show. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you soon.